Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's been a minute since I've done a Wednesday live, so I'm really excited to do this one today. And today we have a really good topic. We're in January right now, so people have questions. Y'all have questions. And I've seen lots going on in the Facebook group with questions about taxes and bookkeeping and all the things. So essentially, we are doing a live series over the next 3 weeks. And I am so excited about it. So today I have my first guest for our live series, Jackie Coder, who's one of my preferred vendors. And today we're going to be talking about taxes. So technically this title is called, let's see, I have to read it to know, Tax Filing Made Simple. What your preparer wants you to know with my dear friend, Jackie Coder. So this is just going to be a conversation. If you're in the comments, go ahead and post a question. Even if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and post a question. We'll keep up with it and answer them. But I know taxes are on everybody's mind, Jackie, right? This is the time of year. We didn't want to think about it. And now all of a sudden we got to think about it.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like everyone kind of was like, oh, it's actually a normal-ish year. So it's fine. Everything's fine. I could take a break. And then December comes around. It's like, oh no, it's coming up sooner than later. So we're all in the same boat. We're all kind of trying to figure the fact out that it's January 2025.
Yep. And it's, I can't even, my brain can't wrap my head around it. I don't know what has happened to time. I don't know, especially like the last couple of weeks, because we've been in weird limbo of like the Christmas, New Year's, and then my kids were out for a fake snow day yesterday. It's like, Lord knows what day it is. But y'all, it's almost tax time. So we are going to kind of shift the focus. So this talk, you know, Jackie, tell people first, like what you do. You're my tax guru, but what do you do?
Yeah. So what we focus on at Coder Accounting is small business taxes and tax strategy. And then obviously with the small businesses, we deal with personal returns as well. So one of the common questions is, well, if you help us with a small business, can you help me with my personal? Yes, it's the whole package. And I really do believe that if you have a small business, no matter what type of entity you are, you should have the same preparer strategist focusing on both, because it's all intermingled, right? So separating them won't give you the maximum benefit. So just so you know, so we focus on small businesses along with their personal returns, and our main primary focus is strategy. That's what we love. We love helping the strategy portion and seeing people save money from that perspective.
You know how I feel about that.
Yep.
I love some good strategy. That's my favorite part of it too.
Let's keep as much money as we can in our pockets, right?
Yes.
Say Uncle Sam.
Yes. And I love that too, because I think it is so intermingled. Like when you're a pass-through entity, right? Yeah, you may have an S Corp that you have to file an 1120S for, but you're also going to be filing on the, personal side, and it's going to pass through. So you're not actually paying taxes from your 1120S. And that's one of the things kind of people are, when they first switch and elect S Corp, they're like, wait, don't I pay tax? Nope, you don't pay taxes. You pay taxes on your 1040. Your S Corp return just tells you what to put on your 1040 or your partnership return or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it really is intermingled, and it's important to see all sides of it. It would not make a lot of sense to have two different people do, each of those things, right? Definitely makes sense to look at the holistic picture, especially when you're talking about tax strategy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a good topic, because when it talks about what your preparer wants you to know, so there's a lot of people out there. Okay, so there's people who choose to file their own taxes, right?
Right.
There are people who choose to go to like an H&R Block or something like that to file their taxes. And then there are people that go to, tax preparers like you to file their taxes. How would you, when would you advise someone to, or would you not, to go to something like an H&R Block or to do their own taxes versus using a preparer like you?
So we have a lot. Okay. So the tax system is set up. If you're a small business owner, the tax system is set up for you to take thousands of deductions, and nothing is black and white. So if you're a self-preparer, if you have no business, you don't have a business, not even, and I mean, when I say no business property, no rental properties, no K1s, no partnerships, not even like a C Corp. I mean, literally just W-2s. You have your own home, some dividends, some capital gains, possibly from stocks that you play around with. Great. You prepare your tax return. Coming to us isn't going to help you the most, right? Now, it might not be cost effective to prepare your own tax return because those platforms can get actually pretty pricey, which I was a little bit surprised about.
They keep going up and up and up.
They keep going up and up and up. So prepare your own tax return on like a TurboTax or something like that. H&R Block is just like any other service. Some H&R Block preparers are incredible, and I get to know them personally because of clients coming to us from them, or they're retiring or they're going somewhere else. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you were such an asset to the community, and it's wonderful. And then there's some that aren't, just like any other industry. So it's a hit or miss. So instead of saying, oh, H&R Block knows what they're doing, or make sure that the preparer that's helping you knows what they're doing, right? And then also that can get pretty pricey as well, which I was a little bit surprised too. So
same. It has gone up a lot. Like their minimum business returns have gone up quite a bit. So it's not, I think there's always been this, I've always thought like H&R Block is like, that's going to be cheaper because it's this big outfit. Not necessarily.
No.
So if you've thought that, if you've stayed away from finding somebody in private practice because you thought they'd be more expensive, like think again, right? And we're small business owners. It's nice to support other small business owners. That's kind of my general, where I can, right? It absolutely makes sense. And I think too, with something like H&R Block, you're not always going to have that continuity. You're not going to have necessarily the same person doing it every year, right? So I think that there's a familiarity when people know your business, that you're not kind of starting over from square one every single year when you have like a tax preparer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that relationship,
you have a question or an issue or something, you're not speaking to anyone in particular. They're sending you to whoever's on call in the call centers, who might not even be around the States.
Right. Exactly. And I think that that's another thing, right? With tax preparation, like thinking about it, when we talk about tax preparation, some people just see it as like a one time a year, I talk to my accountant and they do this, right? I think we're moving into a world where like the relationship piece, especially if you're a business owner, right? Having a relationship with someone that you know, can advise you throughout the year, right? Like maybe you're paying for that, but again, there's peace of mind there, right? Like you should be. You shouldn't just, you know, if you paid a couple $100 for a personal tax return, you don't necessarily get access to, you know, somebody all year long. But I highly recommend that people do have some kind of a retainer, accountant on retainer, if they can swing it, so that they can ask those questions when they have them and they're not just out on their own.
We actually set up something because not everyone's ready for the retainer where they're meeting with us quarterly and everything like that, or monthly. So they're more on the tax preparation side and then a tax strategy meeting. But then throughout the year, if there's questions, we have something that we came up with, which is like a pick my brain. So it's just a 30-minute consult, whatever it is that's going on. And it could be as simple as, you know, I'm looking into selling my home. We're having another baby. We're going to be selling our business in a few years. Hopefully, where do we even start? Some things with my IRA, just anything. It's like, I just need 30 minutes to sit down and talk to you. So we set up a pick my brain so that it's like, okay, now you have me. Let's go through it.
I'm such a big fan of that. I actually didn't know you guys were doing that now, but I think that's fantastic. I think there's a huge chasm between, you know, what business owners need, you know, right? And like what makes sense for them. So I think a lot of accountants, a lot of CPAs and EAs and everybody are going towards this, you know, year-round model. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense to have that year-round retainer model, but it can be expensive, especially if you just need it occasionally. And I think that there's this middle ground of smaller businesses, right? Say you're a business that is under $1 million in revenue, under $500,000 in revenue. You might just have questions every once in a while, but having an accountant on retainer all year might not necessarily make sense yet, right? Eventually, I think for everybody, it makes sense.
Right.
But there's a zone where just having somebody that you can talk to when you need to on an ad hoc basis is huge. So I love that you do that. I'm a really big proponent of that myself. I wish more you know, professionals would offer something like that.
Right. It's also, I mean, it is because you want that person, you want the business to be able to have you year round, but it isn't in the cards for a lot of small business owners. And I get it. I completely understand it. So when things come up, we're available, and someone, either myself or someone on my team, depending on what it is that you're looking for, will be directed to the correct person to help you and the price point to help you, right?
Yes.
So if you send us an email and say, like, I have questions about this and this and this, you might not need to meet with me. You might be meeting with my senior manager instead about different things. And then it's cheaper. So it's just, you just don't know. So we want to be there to support you, because also, again, we want to be that proactive strategy type of service provider. So if a small business owner has questions, they usually need to be answered now. They can't wait for 3 months, even if you are on retainer. And then, there's a whole different thing there. It's not always like a numbers question and we need to dive into your financials. It's literally like, I have to make decisions, because as we know, as small business owners, if you don't make the decision quick, it's gone.
Yes.
The opportunity is gone, right? That's entrepreneurship for you. You make a decision now.
Yeah, it's urgent. Yep.
It's urgent. So unless we're on vacation, which we were on vacation, we closed the office between Christmas and New Year's for everybody to recoup until, we have them year round to have that strategy and hand holding. And it's not always necessary, but sometimes it is. But
and there's peace of mind associated with that, right? Just knowing that somebody is there if you need them. I think that's huge. Especially, again, small business owners, we're kind of winging it sometimes, right? Like when
Jamie,
we've been in business all the time. Yeah, let's
be honest.
Like, we're always winging it. We're all winging it, y'all, in at least some area.
Yes.
So, it's totally okay, right? It's totally okay to admit that. I love it. Okay. So one of the things I want to talk about, you mentioned strategy. So let's talk about preparation versus strategy. We are in Q1 of the year right now.
Right.
So what should people be focused on right now? And let's talk about that kind of delineation of when to talk about tax prep and organization and when we shift into strategy.
Okay. So right now it's January. Everyone's thinking, oh crap, we got to get my taxes done, right? It's time. So people come to us looking for new accountants now, looking for new tax preparers, want to save money on taxes. Now, there are things we can do. So we are still accepting new clients, a handful of clients, but there are things we could do to assist you for tax preparation and save you money on taxes. However, the real strategy comes throughout the year, and we have something called tax strategy, tax planning meetings, which happen in October and November. So we look at your year-to-date activity, both business-wise and personal, because we all know things happen personally that affect our tax situation. I think that's hard for people to really grasp when you're in the thick of things, growing a business and just trying to be there day to day. Your personal changes affect your tax situation. So when we're planning a strategy meeting, yes, we're asking for your significant others, your spouses, year-to-date pay stubs, because it affects your strategy meeting. And we are asking if you had another kid, and we are asking if you moved or if you bought a property or if you had an inheritance. It's like, why are we asking these questions? I need strategy. That's why, because it's the whole picture that we look at, not just the bottom line of your business. It affects everything. So those meetings happen for us. Everyone's different, but for us, it happens October, November, so we can look at the year and through the year and come up with those last few months of the year to really, one, have no surprises. So if things just kind of stay as planned, you know what you're going to owe tax-wise, adjust quarterly estimates, and put things into place, whether it's buying things, which is like the common joke, like I need to buy a truck, right? Like every single contractor that comes into the office goes, do I need to buy a truck this year? I'm like, I don't know. Do you need a truck? Like, it's like the thing, it's like, do I need to buy a truck this year? So it's always so funny. So it's always like, there's more things you could do than buy a truck. If you need a truck, buy a truck. But there's so much you could do. So those last few months of the year give us that opportunity to sit down and think about and make decisions. Again, act, right? Like we have to act in those last few months to make those strategies and tax savings overall for your whole family. And sometimes it's literally your bank is sitting on $100,000 of cash, pulling it out See, I know, Sarah, you did buy a truck. I know you needed a truck. but, so, but that, like, you might have sitting on cash that you could pull out tax free because you already pay taxes on it, and people don't understand that. It's like, now we have this chunk of cash to play with. Right. So either buy a property. Let's do a cost seg analysis. Oh, I could buy a yes, you could buy a property and do a cost seg. Fund your retirement account. Buy the truck. Hire that employee. Send out employee bonuses that you're scared to send out, but it'll help you and your team. Different things that we can do, not only to save taxes this year, but look at long-term goals, because the lower taxes you put on your business, the less chances of you getting that loan that you need in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not always just, let's save money now. It's, what do we do now for this year? And what are the goals moving forward that we can start baby step? Otherwise, we're just flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
All the time. Not just half the time, all the time.
All the time. Yep. All the time. I love this, and I totally agree. I think that's kind of the mindset. Oftentimes it's like people will come in January, February, March, and they're like, how do I reduce my tax, my taxes due? And yes, like again, we want to make sure we're getting all the deductions and the credits and the things that you are due for. But a lot of the flexibility to make decisions, right, is gone. Accounting is one of those things, like, we like hard deadlines. December 31st is a hard deadline for most things, right? It's like, did it happen on December 31st or January 1st? There might be a big difference. And that's why I talk a lot about this in my content towards the end of the year, because that's when you got to make decisions that are going to affect you in April, right? It's in that October, November, December. And so knowledge is power. If you have an accountant to meet with and talk about where you're at, what your goals are, what your tax liability is looking like. And to your point, Jackie, there is so much personal that affects it. I think people like to look at their business kind of siloed and think about, like, well, how much of my business income should I put aside? Like, what should my tax rate be? Well, it depends. What's your tax rate on considering everything, right? As a pass-through entity, like, you got to be thinking about all the things that you mentioned. What's your spouse doing? What kind of, did you have an inheritance? What's going on with your investments, right? What did you sell? Those types of things. It's all going to affect you. And so you need to be looking at that, not just in the beginning of the year, but like throughout the year, and especially as you get into the last quarter of the year. But starting early, right? Starting now, yes, it's going to help. And if your tax preparer, again, if you can say, okay, prepare my taxes, save me what you can, then let's look forward, right? It's a really easy pivot once that's done. It's not like, okay, woo, done. I'm not going to think about it for a year, right?
Right.
Remember, like, there are things, now is the time to get proactive if you haven't been before, right?
So when we do a tax return now, right? So let's say we get a new client that's coming to us now, we're going to get your tax return done. I always say the earlier we can get it done, the more advice we can give you to start switching things up for 2025 that'll help you moving forward. So for example, let's go back to the vehicle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's just go back to the vehicle. I don't know. So if you have a vehicle that you use solely for business, but you didn't think you could have it as a deduction, so you're not taking it as a deduction, right? So if we get your tax return done early, now we can tell you to start paying that car payment through your business now. So now you're getting some benefit for 2025. Now, do we get what we could in 2024? Not fully, but we can at least start moving forward. So that's what we always say. So something that we do, and I don't know if other accountants do this, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I usually don't pay attention to what other people are doing. We do what we want to do. Right. So, but I'm curious, maybe other people are doing this and we're just like late in the game. But so the starting 2 years ago, we started, when we do your tax return as a small business owner, we send a Loom video going over your return with suggestions of what you should start doing based on our interview that we've had with you and additional information. And that way you have time to reflect on it. Watch the video as many times as you want. And it's not a movie. It's like 10 minutes, right? We're not looking at hours here. And then you can come back with questions and meetings and see what's next. But usually the video gives you like a higher level point focus on your tax return, because a lot of people also don't look at it. They don't even know what they're looking at. You're signing off on a return with the federal and state agencies that you have no idea what anything is. So I'm a strong proponent of know what you're signing. Okay, don't know every line item. You don't need to know every line item, but at least know, like, you're filing as a Schedule C, by the way. And here it is.
Yeah.
Look, this is where your home office is listed. Oh, I didn't
Yep.
even know we took home office. That kind of stuff. So just kind of page by page to see how different things and then tax brackets affect you. It always feels like you're paying a lot of money in taxes, but you might not be. You might be at a lower tax bracket, but it feels a lot because you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's not as complicated. Like, yes, the totality of a tax return is kind of ridiculous. All the schedules, all the things, right?
It's
But if
crazy.
you really kind of focus in on a couple of key areas, I think it can be so telling. I'm a huge proponent, as you know, of financial literacy of business
Yep.
owners. Even I want them to hire accountants. I think that is what they should do. But I also want them to be able to have intelligent conversations, ask good questions to your accountants. And that takes a base level of knowledge. So it could just be reviewing and seeing if anything looks weird. And the amount of people that will find things, right, that maybe your tax preparer didn't know about or they didn't know to ask about, then you might be able to find not necessarily issues, but opportunities as well. So I think that's something that's really important is, put your two eyes on it, look at it, ask questions where you have them, right? And I love the video idea too, to like walk people through it, because it also helps to make it make a little bit more sense, right? Than just having to pull it up and try to figure out what it's saying. Especially those first 2 pages. Like those are really what's telling you, like, here's all the income, here's what your total tax is, right? Like it tells you right there. Here's what credits you took. Like you can see it right there in those first 2 pages. So look at that. Look at your Schedule C if you got one, right? Like those things are going to be really telling. And if something looks off, then say something.
Then say something. Ask questions. Always ask the questions. Respectfully, be kind. We're all doing our best. But ask the questions. And your accountant, tax professional should be willing to answer your questions. So,
And I love the respectfully too, because remember, it is tax time and they have a lot, hundreds, if not thousands of tax returns are what they're going through at this point in time, right? So that's just something to know. Have, some grace for your tax preparers and the communication aspect and how long it takes. But if you keep running into the same issue, and especially if this is happening, outside of a crunch time, then it might be time to look for maybe another one that communicates in the way that works for you, right?
I think it's not always, and it's also people. Okay, so going back into the like communication and transparency and answering questions, it might not be a good fit.
Yes.
Right? So it's not necessarily exactly. So it's not like, oh, someone needs to communicate better. Oh, I don't understand this. Oh, you need to. It might just not be a good fit, and that's okay. Whether it's us or someone else, it doesn't matter. It just might not be a good fit, and that's okay. It doesn't mean. Just understand that we're all dealing with different types of people. We're all people. We all have different strengths and weaknesses and approaches, and we're all just doing our best. Business owners across the board, clients, professionals, service providers, it doesn't matter. So, so we're all just here to help each other. And
and it's okay to switch if it's just not the right fit, right? I think some people hold on really long, maybe because they feel bad or they think it's going to be painful to switch. And in fact, when you find somebody who is a real human and that you have like a connection, you can talk to them. You're not like dreading when you see the meeting come up. Like maybe you're not excited to talk about taxes, but you're like, oh, Jackie, like it's going to be fine, right? Like I'm not worried I'm going to get judged. I'm not worried I'm going to walk away feeling bad about myself, right? You want to find somebody that is a good fit for you. So
the meetings with any tax professionals are not, you shouldn't be looking forward to them. I mean, why would you be looking forward to like, let's do taxes?
Unless you're expecting a refund and you're just waiting to find out what it is, right? And then it's fine. Then it's fun. I might be in the like weird minority of like, not that I get excited. I do my own taxes still, mostly just to keep a pulse. Cause for me, it helps. Like I am a CPA. I want to keep a pulse on like what's going on out there, but I get even surprised by things. Like I realized this year, I just did a video on it. All of the new deductions that are available, not deductions, credits that are available for opening a retirement account. So like that, I'm a CPA. I didn't even know. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I had opened a retirement account last year for my employees. So again, there are things like that your tax preparers are going to know about that you may not. And TurboTax, the way TurboTax works, right? It's going to present you with the most likely scenarios. And sometimes you have to do a little digging in order to look for ones that are, maybe less, like opening a retirement plan. That might not come up. They might not specifically ask me that. I might have to do a little clicking, right? I might have to do a little clicking to find that. And I would have missed thousands of dollars worth of credits that it's going to give me for this, right? I love this. Sarah, you're amazing.
Sarah's so fun. I love Sarah.
Surprised by this. She is the best. We love her so much. Anyway, this was great. I hope it gives some people some things to think about when it comes to taxes and just a bit of a different way to think about things, right? Like right now we're in that preparation. We're in the historian. Now we're playing historian and making sure we get all those, credits and deductions that are due to us. And then we can turn into strategists, right? And it's great if the same person can do both of those. If somebody can prepare your return, like Jackie, see where there's opportunity, and then help you implement that opportunity throughout the year, that's amazing. So I'm going to share your info. First of all, there is a link to a freebie, which y'all know I love a good freebie. So you can tell people about that. This is the 5 questions to ask before you hire a tax professional. So I just put it into the comments, so you should see it.
It's just when we do an intro chat, when we have someone schedule, it's like, what questions do you have? And they're like, I don't know even what to ask.
Yes.
So I know, Jamie, you have some stuff also available. I've had some clients come to us that were referred from you, and they're like, this is from Jamie's, what to ask. I'm like, these are great. Thank you for asking me this and everything. And then I respond to them and they're like, oh, thank you for responding. So I just general, they're not very detailed or anything, but just something to start the conversation with someone, because I strongly believe you need to meet with multiple people and come up with who you work best with, that you have the best jive with,
And not only is it okay to ask questions, you should be asking questions, right? And that's how we prepare. I think, again, to your point, if we don't know what to ask, that's when later on we're like, oh man, I wish I had known X, Y, Z. And there are a lot of people that have negative experiences. And sometimes it's just a mismatch of expectations. And a lot of it too is just like making sure you're aligned on expectations and how the process works and, what they're going to do for you, what they're not. That's where I see a lot of the friction coming up. Right. And so I think that's really important, and making sure you're aligned on like big picture things. Right.
Right.
Like if you are, and risk tolerance is one of those areas I always talk about. I'm like, if you are, a fly by the seat of your pants, like ask for permission or ask for forgiveness instead of permission person, and you hire a like very, very like far, straight-laced accountant who says no to everything, and those exist, right?
Yeah. Oh, they exist. Yeah.
They're probably the majority of people, right? Because they're trying to cover themselves, but sometimes that they may leave some strategy that could be doable. But if you have completely different risk assessments, then that's not going to be a good match, and vice versa as well, right?
Right.
So make sure you know yourself, and then make sure that matches in a tax program, for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm going to share also your the link to your website. So if people just want to reach out and contact you, they can email you, or however they want to proceed. Now is a good time. Again, Jackie has a few more spots if you want tax preparation. She's got a few more spots available that you can go grab, but I would grab them fast because we're in January and
they're closing, I believe, end of next week. They're closing.
Oh, well, there you go. Grab them now.
Yeah.
All right, Jackie, it's so great to have you every time you come on. I love talking taxes. Again, I'm a tax professional, but I'm not in the same way that you are. I'm not in the weeds. I'm not doing the day-to-day. And so I love hearing your perspective on things. And I know it's really valuable to our audience as well. So thanks for coming on.
Anytime. It's always fun to chat with you. I love it.
All right, everybody, happy Wednesday, and we'll see you next week. Next week, I believe I have Christina Springstead coming on. Hopefully I'm not switched, but she is going to talk more on the bookkeeping side of things. So make sure that you tune in for that. And I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.